It's a special edition of An Hour with Bob. Here we are. It is August 29th. Where has the summer gone? In fact, it was at 50-something degrees this morning in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Well, tonight we got a couple guests for you. First of all, I want to introduce you to Anna. You say it.
Casador.
No, you don't. The way I say it,
Casador.
Casador, not Casador.
Casador.
Now, is that Portuguese or Italian?
It's Portuguese.
It's Portuguese.
A little of Italian, but it's
Yeah?
Portuguese.
Now, your father was
Portuguese?
Portuguese and your mother's Italian.
No, she's Portuguese. We only recently discovered we've got some Italian.
Oh, you got some Italian. So there is a good part there in the line, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, in Rhode Island anyway.
At least here, yes.
Well, no. Portuguese and Italian are very big. Both two big nationalities in the state of Rhode Island, right?
We rule.
Ooh, don't say that. We get in trouble for saying that. There's a lot of other nationalities around here nowadays. Huh?
Well.
So what's this? Miss Elite Woman of the Year. What's that all about?
Well, it's a brand new pageant program. They recognize and help empower women that are involved in community or charitable work. I have a foundation of my own.
And it involves?
It's called the Eric Medeiros Memorial Foundation in memory of my son.
And we've got a shot of that. We're going to have a picture of that up there in a minute.
And what we do is we support local community and charity events and other good causes that are going on. And we're officially a foundation.
Okay, so that's a 501c3, is that what that is?
Ours is in the works. We're waiting for the final confirmation, but it shouldn't be a problem. And it's all been family, friends, community. It's become a healing journey for me. And through the pageant program, we've been able to do a lot of networking. So we're now having our first huge annual official fundraiser.
And that is when?
It
September?
is Tuesday, September 5th.
Yep.
And it's being sponsored by the fabulous Spain
restaurant
in Cranston. We're taking over the second floor.
Wow.
Starts at 6 p.m.
It's a good restaurant, Spain restaurant.
We're going to have some great past hors d'oeuvres and then a fabulous buffet. We've got at least 8 entrees on our buffet.
I'm going to go just for the food.
Come hang out with me.
Oh, that too.
Okay, good. And it's been really good. A lot of great sponsors, but they're our big one. They're sponsoring the whole event food-wise. So we'll be able to donate quite a bit to the CCAP food pantry that I always support. That was a big thing with Eric. Anybody being hungry was something he wasn't happy with.
Tell me a little bit about your son.
Eric is a fabulous young man. He was my boy.
He was young, right?
He had just turned 22 that week. It was a tragic car accident. We were living down in the Caribbean at the time, St. Croix. And it was a traumatic brain injury. It was a closed brain injury, to be exact. So this is why the other organization we're supporting at our big event is the Brain Injury Association of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
They do a lot of work, to help families that are dealing with survivors of brain injury. I had to make the difficult decision that no parent should ever make.
I know what you're going to say, too.
So
you can say
through
it, by
him,
the way.
yeah, it was tough to make that decision to let your child go.
My nephew had to do that with his son.
But, I fell apart like expected, but I went from not being able to get dressed in the morning and not knowing what I was going to do with myself to this.
Yeah.
And it's all still because of him. Because it
you
started
turned a negative into a positive,
yes,
is what you did.
Yes. It started off very small. I would just do little quiet gestures in the neighborhood in his memory, and I would be happy with that and deliver some food to the pantry and then have a little fundraiser at my studio where I do my cosmetic work.
Well, that's what I was going to get into it, too, yeah.
And, donate the proceeds from that. And then, our mutual friends, Elaine and Ray Paolo, suggested I try out for one of their charity pageants. No clue what I was getting myself into.
Yeah. Good or bad?
It was good. I did the bathing suit part too.
Yeah.
But for me, it was an opportunity to promote the charity.
Sure.
And since then, it's just grown, which is even better. So the more awareness, the more people we can help, the more he smiles.
Good. So again, it's September?
September 5th. 6 o'clock.
Spain
at
Restaurant.
Spain Restaurant in Cranston on Reservoir Avenue.
Yep.
It's going to be a great night. We've got great raffles. We've got big screen TV we're going to give away.
Yeah?
Yeah,
All right, maybe I'll have a picture on the TV.
that would be great.
Yeah, I'll put my
That would
picture
be
on the
great.
TV. Now, what do you do normally with your work? What is
My work, I am a cosmetic and corrective tattoo artist. So if you look carefully, my brows are tattooed.
it? Okay, yeah.
I knew that would get you. But yeah, I do cosmetic work like this, and then I do corrective work, scar camouflage.
Right.
I work with cancer survivors that have been reconstructed and need their, areola work redone,
Oh.
that kind of thing. So a lot of scar work,
Yep.
from surgeries, burns, all different types of, as long as the scar is white,
Yep.
we can camouflage it with tattoo inks and certain techniques. So I enjoy doing that.
Oh, cool. Well, listen, again, it's September,
September 5th,
6 o'clock,
6 o'clock.
Spain Restaurant.
Spain Restaurant in
Cranston, Rhode Island, on Reservoir Avenue.
On Reservoir Ave.
All right. Well, I'm going to see you there.
Oh, I hope so.
Okay.
I'm going to hold you to it.
Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. We'll be right back on An Hour with Bob.
Beautiful Rhode Island. Prestigious colleges and universities. Fabulous multicultural dining experiences. The history, parks, music festivals, and the magic of Narragansett Bay's natural beauty. Everything from the celebrated arts to a world-class zoo. A cool capital city and a vibrant, heartwarming pulse. Life's too short to wait to see Rhode Island.
Well, folks, we're back on An Hour with Bob. I got two friends that I left the country with a few months back, huh? Mr. and Mrs. Michael and Alissar Langworthy, right?
Yep.
And do we look different? I mean, you look amazing. After what you went through?
Thank you. It was actually invigorating. It was a good experience.
When did you get back?
Last Sunday.
Last Sunday? Doc, when did we leave to go to Cuba?
Into May. I
And-
think it was Memorial Day. We
I
were
think
there
it was
Memorial
before
Day.
Memorial Day.
We were there Memorial Day weekend.
We were there, that's
Yeah,
right. We were
right,
there
right.
for
May
Memorial Day
26th.
weekend.
Yeah, we were down in the week before Memorial. You and I were in Key West.
Right.
Yeah.
And this poor young lady was piloting a ship.
Captaining.
Well, I call it piloting.
Yeah.
Captain. I'm sorry. Captain's a word. Is that the term? I know you're the captain, but was it captaining or piloting? Is there any
You can say
difference?
both, but captaining is
Captaining?
fine too, yeah.
Well, oh, that's right. You're a former pilot, so you don't want to. I get that.
Yeah.
All right.
Sailing was good too.
Sailing a ship.
There
You
you
were sailing a ship as the captain.
Yeah.
A 75. What's the name of the ship?
Phoenicia,
Phoenicia. You were captaining a 75-foot
75 foot.
steel-hulled ship from New Bedford Harbor
Yep.
to Key West.
Yep.
And we had the luxury of flying to Key West.
Yep, as it should be.
You missed all the hard work. Yes.
How long did it take you to get to Key West?
On the flight,
On the
probably
flight.
3 hours.
Yeah. Oh, it was a little longer than that.
Yeah,
Because you had to go from, where'd you fly out of?
I flew with you. We flew from
That's-
Providence
well, I'm trying to make it look like, yeah.
to Miami, and Miami to Key West.
Key West, yeah. What was it about? Well, my Providence,
probably
Miami,
5,
3
6 hours,
hours,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
on the
You guys were on
layover,
the
maybe
same
another
flight?
hours, 5 hours. How long did it take you to get to Cuba? I mean, getting to Key West?
To Key West, because of the weather, it took us 9 days.
9 days? Wow, 9 days. We were there in less
the
than
wind
9
was
hours.
in our bow the entire time down, so.
And you what?
The wind was at our bow the entire time, heading
Really?
down. Yeah, it took a while. It slowed us down. So instead of going 7, 8 knots, we were doing 6.5.
And you even had to duck in harbor a couple of times,
We
didn't
did. We did. One of the places was Cape Canaveral and Fort Lauderdale. And we had to tuck in.
So you
for the
got as
night.
far as there before you had to duck in?
Yeah.
So you went all the way down the North
Yeah,
and
we were
South
in
Carolina?
Florida
And
before we pulled in. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I knew you had a storm in Florida, right?
It was Fort Lauderdale when the storm was going on. We had about 5-foot seas, and it was getting a
Oh
little
my
too hard on the
God.
crew and on the boat, so we tucked in.
It was a little rough flying down
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I spilled my drink.
You were drinking. That's nuts.
And then we'll get into what we did when we were in Florida and in Cuba. But on the way back, how long did it take you to get back?
Well, it took a bit longer. We stopped into several ports to check them out and do some research on some of the reefs. We had to do some oil changes and battery changes. So
Yeah?
so it took us a while. Let's see. You guys took off May 31st. Everybody left, went back home.
Left you?
Left me with my dog, and so we took care of the boat in Key West for a month.
Wow.
Yeah, they came down, Mike and a couple of other people, and we did some diving on the reefs. We're trying to determine their state, and it turns out they really are dying.
Well,
Yeah, there's been like an increase in the temperature of the water, about one degree Fahrenheit, I believe, worldwide. About 25 years ago, I got my diving certification
Right.
in Key West.
oh, did you?
And
Yeah.
the open water was on one of the reefs, and I remember it being just a dazzling array of colors. You
Color.
didn't know where to look.
And was it all
And
bleached
now
white?
it was just dead. Barely any fish, no color. It was really sad to see that, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I really
Not
noticed.
just one or two reefs, several of them. It was like up
Really?
and down up and down the Keys.
I mean, I can remember just fishing anywhere in salt water
Yeah.
25, 30 years ago. You could catch a fish, and you almost would never know what you're going to catch. There's so many fish out there.
Yeah.
Now you can go out for hours and not catch anything.
That's what I
anywhere.
heard. Some of the people were saying that. Yeah, some of the fishermen down there, they're not doing much luck, unfortunately.
And as you say about the temperature going up, I know one guy that was a lobsterman here in Rhode Island. He had over 300 lobster pots. And he sold out about 3 years ago because he would normally go out with 300 lobster pots and he'd come back with hundreds of lobsters. He went out, the last time he went out, when it did it for him, 300 pots, he pulled up like 9 lobsters total.
Yeah.
And they said, and he said, it's because the water went up a degree or maybe even 2 degrees, and so the lobsters are going north. They had a
I'm hearing those stories here.
huge catch up in Maine.
Well, yeah, worldwide this went up about a
Yeah.
full degree.
is
And
a full
if
degree.
you look at like Great Barrier Reef, reefs off Japan, Key West, we dived.
And 1 degree.
Key
will do
West, Key Largo, Alamorada, just looking at reef viability, and they're just dead. I mean, they're saying in the next 30 years, 90% of reefs around the world will be dead.
That's terrible.
That is.
That's
is
more
terrible,
than
yeah.
terrible. I mean,
So-
which means the fish species are going to die off too. All those beautiful, different colored fish. You know, they're used to their habitat is the reefs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get rid of their habitat, their food. Guess what? They go too.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. But I've heard these stories here as well now. When I came back, I saw some of the fishermen coming into Captain Leroy's where we docked the boat, and one of the boats that just came in, they were out 40 days. And they came back, and there was like hardly anything. One of the crew
Wow.
was saying, "I only made $600. That's all for 40 days.
Wow.
This is not."
So
Not
that's how we
sustainable.
got into the research aspect. So I was doing stuff with a fiber reinforced polyurethane that actually
Yeah,
dissolves
explain
in
that to
salt
us.
water. So we're looking at alternative type materials. When we talked last time, there's a lot of plastic that goes in the ocean,
Right.
and it just becomes microplastic and floats around in there. There's one off the coast of California that's like the size of the state of Texas. So we were doing some.
What do you mean? All this plastic gets
Yep,
together?
plastic gets
Yeah.
gets in the currents and
pull them together into
gets
like an
there,
island.
and it's
Yeah.
pretty deep and as wide as the state of Texas. They're in the Atlantic Ocean, they're in the Indian Ocean. So we're working on a absorbable polyurethane that's made out of calcium phosphate, which would buffer the water. It becomes in salt water. In sunlight, it breaks down into calcium phosphate ions. So that's how we got into boat research. I was too busy, so she actually, tell me how you became a captain.
Yeah, how did you become a captain?
How did I become a captain? Okay, well, it started out with his research. He needed a platform, basically a vessel that can go offshore, can be offshore for a long time using solar energy, solar power, wind generation, and can actually do alternate alternate power
Power.
generation. Yep. And so the lab that he works with found the boat on the West Coast. She's a big steel hull boat, like you said,
Right.
75 feet. She weighs 88 tons. Perfect platform, very, very big room, a lot of room on it for working and installation of whatever you need for different scientific experiments. And so I decided to join the team that was hired to sail her, from Portland,
up
Oregon.
in Oregon,
Yeah.
all the way to
So
here.
It was a 7,000-mile trek. And I
So you
learned to
go through the
navigate,
canal?
and I went through the canal, came up the eastern seaboard. So I learned to navigate, learned to stand watch, learned to do all the operations, watched everybody changing the oil, doing the engine greasing of all the shaft and
So you end up
transmission.
doing all that.
I was watching, I was learning and watching.
Right.
I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with it. It takes that. It takes you falling in love with the sea and wanting to do this.
Right.
And I decided, having logged all these offshore hours, that I do want to do this, and I did love this boat. And so I enrolled in Northeast Maritime Institute
Right.
in Fairhaven, and got my 100-ton license.
So you can pilot a captain,
Yeah.
a 100-ton vessel.
100-ton vessel, yeah.
Wow.
This
Do you
one is
remember how we
88.
met? You remember the first time I met you? You know what I envisioned? The very first.
I remember
look-
this.
you-
Yeah.
The very first picture I have of you.
No.
You had a drill when you were working on the outside of the
Oh
boat.
my God.
You were working on the boat.
Yeah, I remember that. I was drilling. We were installing these bumper guards on the actual pylons in the marina. It was hard work. I'm still feeling it. That's funny. You remember that? Yeah, I was a mess. I was a mess. But yeah, so I mean, I do a lot of that work. I do enjoy,
Well, you
the
certainly did all the
mechanical
work. You
aspect of
very
it.
impressed me greatly. The way you handle yourself, the way you
Thank
handle
you.
the boat, the way
Thank you.
you handled the whole thing. When we went to Cuba, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a great trip. It was a great learning experience. And you remember we got there early. It was
It's
nighttime.
about 3 in the morning or something, right?
Wee hours of the morning, and we decided to wait until daybreak to get into the
Because
channel.
it's kind of a nasty harbor to get in, right?
It looked very narrow. It looked like there was a lot of shallows on either side. We draw 9 feet from the water line, so we needed to be careful going in there. So I'm glad we did wait, which was, I thought it was surprising. I thought someone would come out and meet us, right? What are you guys
Right.
doing out here?
Yeah, what's this boat doing here?
So it
Well,
was
the
easiest
surprising thing, though, when we showed up, you didn't see a lot of lights on the coast. It was very interesting.
Right.
And that was the first thing that I noticed is, typically you'd see, if you're off the coast of Massachusetts,
you see all
tons
the
of light.
all the city
we didn't know
lights.
Cuba was there until we started painting it with radar.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't a lot of contact with either our Coast Guard, the Cuban Coast Guard, or the Navy Coast Guard.
There
We
wasn't any, yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting.
What I thought was really funny is I threw the rope to one guy on the shore there
Yeah.
at the dock, and I said, "Hey, what's your name, buddy?" Vladimir. You're Cuban, named Vladimir. Talk about the influence of the Russians, huh?
Yeah.
The
didn't
first
know that.
person,
That's
the
good.
first person I
This was their Coast Guard station. We
Right.
had to check in there. We had to do customs there.
yes.
Yeah. But it was easy getting in there. This was one of the better ports in Cuba, I heard, to,
Oh, yeah?
This is
to
a
obtain
Hemingway
your,
Marina.
Yeah, Hemingway Marina.
Hemingway Marina.
To obtain your visas, and they'll give them to you right away, and you're
No,
you're
they
cleared. really
have to
easily.
get the visa ahead of time?
No,
or
they gave 'em to
they
us
gave them to you
there.
on the spot.
Yeah.
Now, didn't President Trump do something to knock that off or stop that? Or?
I don't know. Yeah, we haven't.
He said he
checked,
was
but I heard-
going
yeah,
to,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Didn't he say he was going to?
Well, he did, and at the time that we were there, he was already talking about it, and the Cuban people were actually, very upset, and they were coming up to us and discussing that with us, and he said, we're your neighbors, why would you do that? We really need to have an open relationship with America. We love America. So, it was kind of a sad thing to see, because we have an embassy there now.
Right. Well,
A
now
US
you hear what they
embassy.
said about the embassy. You hear what they said's happening in the embassy. You guys can't hear,
It was.
Yeah,
Right?
We talked. Yeah.
I don't think it was the
um,
Cubans that did that.
no?
No.
I think it was the Russians.
Somebody's playing games. I don't know.
But isn't that odd, though,
spy
Doc?
games. Yeah, yeah. Well, they can use microwaves. They can use laser to paint a window pane and then pick up the conversations that are going on inside the room. So I mean, there may be a component to that. I don't know. We're not spy people, so. Yeah, it looks like it's legitimate though. The Canadians and the U.S. Embassy were affected.
But for all you folks that don't know it, supposedly something went on in the American Embassy and the Canadian Embassy where it's affecting the hearing of some of the people that worked in the embassy.
Balance headaches.
Sonic
Yep.
thing.
And even brain damage, they actually
Yeah,
said. That's,
yeah,
that's pretty serious stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, I didn't explain, you're not only a doctor, you're the head of orthopedic surgery at St. Louis Hospital.
At South Coast, yeah.
South Coast.
Health System, yep.
And my knee surgeon,
Yeah.
the best of 3 knee surgeons.
All right, I'll give you that.
I'll tell you, you will. Yeah, you did my 3rd one on the same knee. Went better than the first 2.
The knee held up well in Havana. I saw you stomping around the boat.
He was dancing to the Cuban
He was
music.
dancing to
I
Cuban
saw.
music.
You
yeah.
saw
Yes,
that, huh?
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw
I even dove off the boat. Remember that? And
Yes.
On the way over, we stopped.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. We hadn't. It's one of those unexpected things. We had some fairly elite swimmers, I would say, on the boat. Bob.
You're not going to
Fairly,
say, right?
yeah, I won't say it. So we had some elite individuals on the boat, and we decided to shut down and jump overboard about middle of the Gulf Stream.
Yeah.
And,
Last day before everybody
yeah, I
jumped
know.
off.
When they surfaced, they're about 75 feet in the boat. We had to throw life
And the
rafts.
Thank God I didn't jump with them, and I was
Yeah.
I was going to jump with them, and I said, no, I'll let them jump first. And the 2 of them dove off the boat.
The Gulf
and
Stream took them. Yeah.
it took them
Yeah.
away.
And these are elite
Yeah,
athletes.
I would have sunk like a rock.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see me here today, I'll tell you that.
We would have got you.
Yeah.
We would have got you. We would have had to bring the dinghy down and race out.
Bring
to
the
get you.
dinghy
Yeah.
down. Oh, that's like him when we went out to that whale watch. And the guy lost the.
Oh, he took the kayak.
He
Wasn't even a
He
dinghy.
jumped into action. He throws the kayak off the boat, dives in the water, and he gets on the kayak. And give me another one. He's rushing over. You're going, the whale, the whale.
He was surrounded by 3 sperm.
Well, that was one of the research projects also. So we were looking feasibility using drones to harvest antibody
Stuff that comes
information
out of
from whale spray.
Whale
Yep.
spray, yeah.
Yeah. What'd you do with the? What was one of the other things you did? The thing with Harvard.
Oh, yeah. This was a research we did with a scientist that came on board from Woods Hole, Oceanographic Institute. And he had been working for 10 years on this, project. They were studying a shrimp-like microorganism called Cephalocarida. And they had found a 500 million year old fossil of it.
I
in
remember
England.
So
seeing
yeah, it's a
that.
living fossil.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
saw that.
Well, no, the one in England was the dated. They dated that fossil to 500 million years, but they found the living colonies in Buzzards Bay of the same
Wow.
organism. So they've been doing collections on it. So they came on board with 2 postgrads from Harvard, and we went out and did like 5 different sites, coordinates, and they would literally send a grab, this metal, this heavy iron grab they would send it down, and when
Right.
it hit the ocean floor, it would just grab the ocean bottom and bring the dirt up. And we had a system on board that pumps salt water right
Right.
onto
Clean
the
it
ship.
up.
And they have to clean it with salt water. They can't obviously use
Right.
fresh water. They would
Right.
kill it. But they couldn't see it, so they had to take all these samples back to Sea Lab in New Bedford and look under the microscope.
Oh, because
and-
it was that small?
yeah, it was very tiny. Yeah, like 3 millimeters or something like that. They found 1, and from all the collection sites we did on that day, they found 1 adult organism, and they were able to start studying it. It's been like going on for the past year, so you'll probably be seeing something about it.
So but as we were talking about with the oceans heating up, there's adaptability to
Right,
the organism, so
right.
that could become a more important food source eventually. So as the oceans acidify, other organisms are gonna step into those
Yeah,
voids. So
hopefully.
it'll be
But
interesting.
there's a downtime, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
and that's
no,
where we're
I
at
agree,
right
I agree,
now.
yeah.
What's the time between, like I said, how the
Yep.
lobsters cleared out of the way. I remember as a kid, we used to go catch haddock.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of anybody catching a haddock.
Really?
in the last 20 years. And another fish called squetig.
Never heard of
It
that
was a very
one, yeah.
popular fish in the Northeast back in the day. Beautiful fish. It was like a large rainbow trout, but it was saltwater. And another term for them, they were called weak fish. Because if you pulled on them hard, W-E-A-K, if you pulled on them hard, you'd rip it. The hook right off.
Weak, okay.
So the Indians, I guess, call them weak fish.
Yeah, oh,
Well,
interesting.
I'm sorry, the Indians call them squetis. The Americans call them weak
Weak
fish.
fish, yeah, interesting.
And we used to catch them a lot when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
But you don't even see them. Don't even hear about anybody catching one. And the same thing with, and also in the younger day, fish and chips. The number one staple fish and chips around here
Was haddock?
was haddock.
Really?
Yeah. Then it went to
Now it's
cod.
cod, yeah.
Then it went to pollock.
Yeah.
You know, now it's almost any white fish.
I heard
Like
it's.
they're using.
I hope it's cod.
No, it's not. A lot
It's
of
not
places
cod?
it isn't. No.
Really?
A lot of places use pollock.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper, and they get away with it because most people don't know the difference. But if you ever take break in a piece of fish, and when it flakes, it sticks together a little better because cod will flake.
It does
when
flake
you break
easily,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, so does haddock. Haddock stays together better, right?
yeah. But the pollock is not white.
Okay.
It's mostly white, but you'll get some
Dark meat in there.
like a brownish color in the.
Okay.
And the fish, you see a lot of restaurants use that. I remember one of the biggest fish and chip restaurants around here never used cod. They used pollock all the time.
Oh yeah.
When I had my restaurant, I was 200 yards away from them, and I'm using haddock, and they're selling for the same price as I am, and they're using pollock, which is costing them
A lot
about
less.
$1.50 a pound less than I was paying for my fish.
Good business. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get away with it. But
We've got another university that's looking at a climate study change. So going from the equator,
oh, we talked about
yeah,
this.
which was getting the boat ready this year for the equator work, but then going up to Iceland and the Arctic next year. So she'd have a big trip
Want to go to Iceland?
next year.
Yeah, I've landed there before, but I've never actually
You have?
stayed. Yeah.
Do you have a
yeah,
girlfriend
I
up there
recommend-
too?
What? I've landed in Reykjavik.
So one of the things they're looking at is with the loss of sea ice, there used to be a summer sea ice that would inhibit wave formation from calving the North Arctic ice.
Right.
And that's gone. So now it's rapidly, the waves go up and they calve, and it's changed the jet stream. And the Department of Defense has found that with the change in the jet stream, it led to the drought in Syria
Right.
about 7 years ago. 1.5 million farmers displaced. They move into the city. Tensions.
So you
civil
think
war.
that caused the war
It
indirectly?
It almost a lot of the jihadist activity that they're seeing worldwide come from drought-stricken places. So actually, the Gates Foundation's done an interesting thing. They put in support, just simple wells and immunizations. They found in the countries where they did that,
Right.
that they had very
More
favorable,
stable?
very favorable views of America, and became good trading partners. Actually,
Wow.
So
So that's a heck of a lot cheaper than having a bomb.
having a war, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at helping out. They're going to put ion scuppers on the mast and then collect ions up, and then look at some of the saline that's coming through some of the water as you scooch up to Iceland. So should be an interesting year next year. Now we've got, like, Harvard's done some stuff. Some of the other universities have done it. Rhode Island, you have several universities, and I know that their big research boat is actually on the West Coast now. So there's certainly
Right, the URI boat.
Yeah,
URI
there's an invitation for the Rhode Island universities.
Well, you know who's working on it, the Ballard there.
Yeah, yep. The one who did the
Dr.
Titanic.
Ballard, the one that did the Titanic.
Yeah.
Really?
He works out of URI.
Yep.
Okay, good to know.
So they're certainly welcome to use our boat as a platform, and they have a captain that's already certified that knows the boat. So
There you go.
goes
How do you like that,
any
huh?
place, anytime, yeah.
I have people from URI on here often, different facets,
Yeah.
different colleges at the university have been on the show over the years.
Yeah.
Well, I know one of their vessels is on the West Coast. So if they need to do something here short term, they could certainly,
We're
jump on
here.
to New Bedford. It's easy.
They're welcome to come on board.
Yeah?
So
We're
it's
for our
it's part of
services.
giving back to the world.
that's
So,
cool.
yeah.
And that's a fun boat, too.
Yeah.
That's a
fun
nice
boat.
boat.
Yeah.
That's a fun boat. That's a
It
nice
is a
boat.
fun boat. You had a fun time with the whales, right?
With the whales,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
we
did.
had a fun time. We had a fun time in Cuba, too,
It
didn't we?
was a beautiful time.
That was a nice trip. The
Yeah.
people were very nice.
Yeah.
The thing that was really amazing was like going back in time.
It really was.
I think there are
50,
2 time
60 years.
capsules. The first was going back to 1955,
Right.
drop-top Cadillacs, but the second was the Spanish forts were pretty
It
fascinating.
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It means
you
like
go
stepping
through
back 500
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Really, really beautiful. I missed that gun. I missed getting that cannon. Remember the
You
cannon?
wanted the cannon, I
I wanted
remember.
that damn cannon. I missed that cannon. I should have bought it.
You should have bought it.
I should have bought that cannon.
That would be great on your show.
Now, actually, probably the most amazing thing I saw down there was that 57 Chevy where they had put the engine sideways and turned it.
The Kia,
Talk
the
about
Kia
that.
motor, a 4-cylinder Kia motor. The car. I said to the guy when I walked up to him, I said, "This does not sound like a V8," and it had all the V8 emblems on it, as I explained to everybody.
Right.
I
The
know my cars pretty well. And I said to the guy, I go, "This is not a V8. I can tell it's not a V8 by the sound." He opened the hood. It was a 4-cylinder Kia engine sideways. Now it went from a rear-wheel drive V8 to a 4-cylinder front-wheel drive Japanese.
Oh, they made it a front wheel drive.
But it looked like, beautiful
Yeah,
on
it's
the
a beautiful
outside.
car,
All the
yep.
chrome was perfect.
Yep,
Everything was perfect.
You have to hand it to them, though. I mean,
They improvised.
they
pretty
improvised. Didn't they have like parts also from washing machines and
well.
refrigerators
How
in these
about
cars as
that
well?
one car was running on a tractor motor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Diesel tractor
they were a
motor.
sight to see. The cars were absolutely beautiful. You were,
Well,
you knew every single
Car, yeah.
the
What
guy-
year? What make? It has that engine. Wait, that emblem doesn't belong on that car. He was like really calling it the entire time.
It was fun. It was fun.
It was a lot of
Remember
fun
that young
watching
guy,
you
the
do
young
this.
cab driver? I'm sitting next to him and I'm marking off the cars when we're sitting at the red light.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's a 54
Yeah, I remember him.
Buick. That's a 56.
He
this.
got really into it. With
Yeah,
you.
yeah. He goes, "You know your cars." Huh?"
What was his name?
I don't remember.
We
I
should
don't
write those
remember. He was
down.
a young kid,
Yeah.
a young guy, early 20s, maybe
Yeah.
19, 20 years old, 21 years old.
I was
something
very
like that.
impressed by your
Yeah, he
knowledge.
was amazing. And what car were we in? Do you remember the car we were in? It's a 54 Pontiac we were in at the time.
Of course you would know that. So they won't let us rent those, huh?
No.
And drive them?
No.
When we go
And
back.
you know what I thought was amazing too? Remember when we went and bought stuff with American money? And one of the people we were with was from England, and he had the English pound, which is worth more than American money. And then when we were both there was a guy there that was
Had
Canadian, and everything was 87.
Yeah.
They give you 87 for 87. What was their money called? COC or something?
Yeah.
CUC?
Cooks,
Yeah.
Cooks.
CUC?
Yeah.
They give you 87. I don't care, it was Canadian money, which our money is worth more than Canadian money, and the British pound is worth more than American money and the Canadian money, and he got the same value as we did. And the Canadian got the same value
He was
as...
using the British pound or euro? He wasn't using
No,
the
he was
euro?
using British pound,
Okay.
which was worth, what, about $1.60 or something like that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But certainly worth twice what the Canadian money's worth, right?
Yep.
And he got the same value as the Canadian guy did. So the thing there to learn is you go there, bring Canadian money,
Good point.
because you get the same value.
We were told euro, but I guess maybe.
No, euro, you got to get beat, because euro's worth more than the American dollar, but they're only giving
Yeah,
you
I see the point.
87.
Yep.
They're giving you 87 cook or whatever it's
Yeah,
called.
I think the next time I would rent a couple vans and go from one end of the island to
Oh,
the
that
next.
would have been
I
cool.
think,
That would have been cool.
yeah. Havana, though, I mean, we spent, 3-4 days in Havana. I mean, there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
But I think it would be fascinating to.
It would be cool.
Oh, I'd love to go across the country. What is it, about 105 miles or something?
We looked it up. It was
It's
it was
pretty
long.
large.
Yeah.
It's quite
it
a
was-
substantial.
Maybe it's longer than 105 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty long.
like
It was longer than we
240
thought,
something. Yeah.
right?
It has a lot of beautiful inland forestry and mountains
Right.
and waterfalls. I'd like to go check those out as well. But they have these mountains, and apparently they are, according to the people in Key West, they are the ones responsible for breaking a lot of the winds before they become
That
pretty
makes
bad.
sense. Yeah,
So they
before it becomes a
deflected many
hurricane.
a hurricane, right?
Right, yeah, that
from,
makes
from the
sense.
Keys. So, but it would be cool to go check them out.
Oh,
It's
I'd
not
love
just
to
the
see
city
it.
and,
Yes,
and the
and I'll
cars.
bet you they have a lot of forts all the way around the.
They probably
So
do.
we'll fly down and we'll meet you in Havana.
Yeah.
You guys can
You
drive.
leave,
I'll
you can leave now.
circumnavigate.
We'll go in the spring. We'll catch you there at the same time. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I am absolutely amazed that you. No,
Well, Coming Back was a Viking movie, though. That was, we
From
got in the
Cuba?
Gulf Stream with the
With all the
winds.
sails.
oh
Coming
God!
back,
And we
it
only,
was-
but we only went 90 miles.
Right.
You
It was
went
like, yeah.
1,500, 1,600 miles.
Yeah, we did quite a bit.
Yeah, 2,400 miles round trip.
Yeah, all of it was about 2,500 miles.
Holy good gosh!
Yeah, but
We almost
We
got,
went 90 miles.
yeah,
Remember that,
yeah, I know,
Doc?
it was
well,
tell them about what happened in Hatteras.
180. You went and back.
Yeah. All right. Oh,
You
okay.
came back with me.
Yeah. Okay. We went 180. You went 2,600.
Yeah, Cape Hatteras was an interesting experience on the way down.
Right. And that has a history of interesting experiences with
For everyone.
hurricanes.
Yeah,
And,
people are
and
afraid of it.
shipwrecks.
Mostly shipwrecks, yeah. But people are afraid of it, afraid of the winds, afraid of the storms. But a lot of it is you need to know how to navigate it because it does go pretty far out with the shallows.
Hence
you really
the
need
shipwrecks.
to pay attention. Yes. But we were coming down and going to Key West to meet you guys. And we had to, shut things down to go grease fittings and things like that. And I couldn't turn the engine back on. Nothing would come back on. All the
Wow.
power was gone.
It's a wonder. Fortunately, you didn't lose your power when you were out in the seas.
Well, she calls me on a sat phone. She goes, "Hey, we just the engine won't start." She goes, "I think it made it frozen." And
We
I go,
thought-
"Start
we
the
thought it was
genset
frozen,
so you don't lose navigation." Well, she calls back. She goes, "Genset won't start." I
Oh,
go,
God.
Nothing was starting.
Well,
so
she goes,
we
I
found
go,
out-
"You got an electrical problem." I mean, we had some backup batteries that were being fed solar, like experimental.
Right.
and a
She
set
la-
of jumper
She
cables
laid on her back in the bilge and jumped from the solar to the.
to the generator and
got
got
the
the gen
generator going.
going, and then from the generator to the main engine battery.
But you
got that
did it.
going. Yeah. Tyler helped
I'm
me.
not saying nothing.
He did.
I said I wouldn't say anything. I'm not saying nothing.
It was fun.
How
It
many?
was-
How many were you on the ship?
4 of us at the time.
4 of us, huh?
Yeah, when you have 4 people on board, you can do the 24-hour cruising because you could do the shifts of 2 hours, 2 on, and then your 2, whoever takes over, your 2 hours backup for them, and then the other person comes and they're backup for that person. So you do 2 hours on, 2 hours backup, and then you have the rest of the
But
time.
you only need one person up to watch?
Yeah. But
Depends
the
on
people
who the
who
people
are
are.
inexperienced, obviously you want to stay right next to them and make
Yeah.
sure.
So you were up 24 hours is what you're telling me.
No,
No.
I got my sleep. This
Did
was
you?
a good schedule.
Yeah.
You have to have your sleep. But so we got everything going, and we ended up in Key West with you guys, and it worked out okay.
Well, tell us a little bit about you. Now, you were born where?
I was born in Liberia, on the west coast of Africa.
Liberia.
Liberia, Monrovia, Liberia. Yeah.
Now, how the heck did you end up in Liberia?
Well, my parents are both Lebanese. Were both Lebanese, and they immigrated to Liberia when my dad was like 19 for prosperity, more work. Liberia was a country founded by the freed slaves. from
Slaves,
America,
yeah.
And so it was a very
I know a little bit about
developing
history.
country. Good. I told you that. I think that's why I know. Anyway, so he went there, established himself. There was all these huge Lebanese community there.
Oh, really?
Oh my goodness! Everybody had like stores. They opened stores. They're very good businessmen, no
Right,
doubt
right.
about it. And he studied and became a CPA. And long story short, went back home, married my mom, came back, and all the kids were born there. So there's a lot of people in our generation who were born in Liberia.
So how many people in your family?
How many altogether?
You know, brothers and
6.
sisters.
I have 4. So we're 4 siblings altogether, 3 girls and a boy. And but we were caught in 2 wars. The one in Lebanon, we went back to Lebanon, once we got.
Which was
to
a
certain
beautiful
age.
country.
It still is. It
Beirut.
still is, yeah.
Beirut was.
It's gorgeous. You've been there?
No, I hadn't been there, but I seen
It's very
pictures of it
beautiful.
years ago.
Mike has been there. He loves it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So did they rebuild it? They must have rebuilt it a
It's
lot,
actually the
right?
modern day where the Phoenicians were.
Right.
We named the
Yeah.
ship after the Phoenicians. So that's
Oh, that's
Beirut.
where the name comes from.
Yep, Phoenicia. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, we ran away from 2 wars. First the war in Lebanon, then the war in Liberia, and ended up, coming to America.
Said I had enough of this stuff, huh?
We did.
Now, did the whole family come over?
Yeah, we did.
Did you?
The entire family. And this is before you had to.
What?
Before, now they have to search everything and security is
Sure.
so tight, So we had suitcases upon suitcases of food, and a lot of them were in plastic bags, and they were like herbs and white powdery stuff, that you cook.
This is what you come over with?
Yes, and then they're like, oh, just come
You
on
wouldn't get in
in,
here now.
please take
You
it
wouldn't get in
easy,
this country with any of
Yeah.
that stuff now.
No, it was. Well, I mean, it's food. It was
Yeah, but
food.
you wouldn't get in this country with that
Probably
food.
not. It did look like food. I mean, I got it. It was pretty funny.
Right?
I look back on that. Yeah.
There's no shot of that happening. So how did you guys meet?
We met in college. Yep.
Where?
Bar.
Michi-
No,
Where?
I'm kidding.
A bar. No, where?
In
I
Michigan.
just-
Michigan, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And we've been together all this time. And he joined the Navy, and I went with him, and we got married the day he got commissioned.
Yeah, we eloped.
Did you?
Yeah.
So you got married? You've been together how long?
You answer that question.
You answered that question.
You don't want to get caught. Oh no, did I get you in trouble?
Yeah, it's got to be like 37 years.
Yeah. Which,
Yeah,
since I came here, I was.
Yeah.
I was
Wow.
very young anyway. So. Yeah. It's been
Wow,
a good
that's
one. It's been a
unbelievable.
good one. We traveled a lot with the Navy.
Yeah.
We were able to go to so many places, and I'm an artist also.
I know.
do
Well, I
oil
was gonna get to
paintings.
that. I was gonna get to
I
that.
will tell you.
Yeah, you're an artist.
I have a studio in New
What do you like? What
Bedford.
kind of stuff? What kind of artwork do you like?
Well, I do oil paintings,
Of
but the
what?
subject matter is very different. It's very diverse. When you look at some things.
What was this feature? Was it Rhode Island Museum?
Yeah, we had the Van Nessum. Yeah.
It's in Rhode Island.
Marika Van Nessum Gallery in Rhode Island.
Yeah, I've heard of
Yeah.
it, but you're saying
She
it.
just hosted our building while I was out at sea. So I'm sitting here going, okay, I called, I was emailing with my friend, my next door neighbor, and I'm like, I had him wrap my painting and take it, but I do big pieces. So going back to your question, it varies. I did a lot of work when we were in California, when he was in the Navy in California, of the missions that were up and down
Right.
the coastline, like
Yep,
San Juan
the
Capistrano,
Spanish
everything.
missions.
Yeah, and the coastline over there. I do portraiture. I was doing a series of women from around the world, just kind of symbology in the painting of trials and tribulations and what their life is like from where they come.
Speaking, before you go any further,
Yeah.
just brought something to my mind. What woman face on a magazine sticks out to you? Is there any in particular you can think of?
A woman's face?
Yeah, in a magazine. I thought you'd pick this up right away. For me, it did.
Yeah.
I'm a photographer, so
Okay.
there was a Time magazine one time, and I think it was an Iranian girl. I mean, absolutely beautiful.
Oh, he's
No,
talking
it's
about
National Geographic. and she
Was it National
Afghani.
Geo?
And she was
Yeah.
from
She was
Afghanistan.
Afghani, yeah.
Well, all right, I had that messed up.
Very
Yeah.
beautiful, yeah.
I mean, that was unbelievable.
They showed a
Yeah.
picture of
Beautiful
her
she was.
recently.
Yeah, they went
grown.
back and
Yeah.
they went back and took it.
'Cause I subscribe to both of those magazines, by the way. That's
Yeah,
why
it
I
was
mixed
one
them
of
up.
probably the most provocative
Striking.
pictures, yeah,
Oh,
very,
it's
very
gorgeous,
striking,
gorgeous face, but you could see
she
the
was
hardened look on her, the sad and just everything she had to deal with in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So I'm
and
sorry.
it's
go
supposed
on.
to. It's supposed to convey it in the face, and I was doing
Right.
that with those portraits, and I do have one woman from that background, from the Muslim background, in one of the paintings. And I've done recently. I went into abstract art, So you look at my paintings, and you can't tell it's the same person that did them anyway. So I can't answer the question. So what appeals to me the most in
Right.
terms of subject matter. So I
The
change
Cuban
it.
rum has helped with the abstract art.
We got the Cuban rum. Where's the Cuban rum? We got the Cuban rum. Let me see the Cuban rum. Let me see the Cuban rum. Now this thing's just traveled. This got back.
Yeah.
Just got back
Santiago
here.
de Cuba, you earned
1,000
this,
miles.
Bob. You earned this.
And I don't
Go
even
there
drink
and
it.
Get it.
Oh, that's
So what are you
right.
gonna do with it?
Remember? Oh, I don't know. We brought this back from Cuba. This was just hand delivered to me by this beautiful young lady tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight, you brought this in here
Yeah.
along with my my other suit
That you
jacket.
left on the boat, yeah. Which you didn't need. It was too hot.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's been brutal. But now all of a sudden, here it is, the end of
Yeah,
August,
nice.
and it was in the 50s, late 40s last night, right?
Yep.
It was cool last night.
I heard the summer wasn't that great either.
It's been up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go back to Key West.
Yeah, no, that was too hot. That was, well, Cuba really wasn't as hot as Key West, though,
Key
right?
West was worse.
Key West was really brutal.
But I adapted.
Did you? You like the hot weather?
I do. I was born in Liberia.
Oh, that's right, of course. Yeah.
But you have to, you acclimate. You acclimate
It
wherever
takes
you
about
go.
3 weeks to really acclimate to a new climate. I mean, your kidneys got to kick in, lungs got to kick in, but you can do it. You can get.
Well, you've been around. I mean,
Yeah.
you were in San Diego for a while, right?
San Diego's nicest weather on the planet.
So they say.
74
It's
degrees,
beautiful.
sunny.
It's getting
But one of
hotter.
our friends left there for, where did he go?
True. Yeah. We can't talk about them, but yeah.
He left. I said, why the heck would you leave the most beautiful climate in the world? And
For
where'd he go?
Ohio.
Ohio. Columbus, Ohio, was it?
Yep, Columbus.
Columbus, Ohio. Well, you got to do what you got to do, he said. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Those dudes were tough, though. They walked from the marina 12 miles or 14 miles into Havana.
They
I mean, it
actually
was-
jogged for a time.
And
too.
Oh, did they?
flip-flops.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Those two guys were
Hardcore.
hot
Yeah,
tickets. Yeah, hot tickets. They've been in touch with me a few times.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
They liked you a lot.
Well, we had fun.
It was.
We had
They were a
fun.
lot
It was
of fun.
it was
All
a
of
fun
us.
trip.
It was a good. It was.
We got to find out that ice cream place there.
Yes.
There's people in the ice cream. Remember that? We walked in that.
What did they say to you? Hey, Bob.
Oh yeah. I just spent
Welcome
an
to
hour with
Cuba.
Bob or something like that. Welcome to Cuba or
Yeah.
something.
Well, what was funny though is you guys filmed them actually getting ready to do that, and then you had the final one. But it'd be nice to contrast the two because
I
when
have a
they-
photo of
they
him doing
first
it,
started
too.
doing it, they had
Photos
no
of him.
clue what you were talking about.
Right,
And
you're
by
right.
the end, it was quite polished.
It was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
very
And
good.
They
it
never
didn't
know what
take
to
long.
make
either.
of
It
you.
didn't do it.
Yeah.
When you first walk into a place, and you start talking to them just like that, and they just don't know what to make of you at first, and then they just fall for him like crazy. They do. How many phone numbers did you get from these women?
It's a don't ask, don't tell trip, quiz.
Oh, sorry.
But I'll give you one. The funniest one was the night we left. Remember we were all sitting outside,
Yeah.
all around the table, and this woman come over, and she was across the table from me.
Senor Bob.
Bob, can I talk to you for a minute? Remember that?
And then,
Oh, man.
And I get up and I walked like a gentleman on the other side of the table, and she took me around the corner, and she handed me a paper
with her phone number on it.
and address.
That was
So
awesome.
if I'm ever in Cuba again,
You call her.
that was
Call her
one
anyway.
of them. Call her anyway. I wonder
from
how that
here.
would work.
It should.
You
You have to find the country code for Cuba.
Yeah, well, no, the telephone stuff and certainly the internet is sketchy because I was in contact with some docs down there. and
Right,
that was-
that's right.
That was shut down. It was just like completely shut down.
Maybe the
so.
sat phone. That's why they come.
Well, that's
took
why
it
they
away and taped it
confiscated
up.
the
Yeah.
phones, right?
Yeah.
When we
They
when we got
sealed
there.
it, and we had to show them at the end that it was still sealed. Before
Yeah,
we
they
left.
put
Silver
in they put in
cell
a plastic, and they taped it with duct tape.
Yeah,
remember,
yeah.
and wrote on it and like
Yeah.
like a seal,
Yeah. Hey,
and checked it when you ready to leave.
we
right?
left.
Yeah,
What was it? 3 a.m.
it was 2 a.m. when we left.
When
yeah,
we left?
Yeah.
3, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, nice video of you. You're like, it's 2 a.m, leaving Havana.
I need to see those. I haven't seen them yet. I just.
Well, we
got
got to
mine.
put it together. I got to put that together on a Bob's Big Adventures, our whole Cuban trip.
Okay.
But this is the first time I used that camera as a video camera. You know, it does high def video, but I'm used to using a video camera with tape in it. And when you stop it, it stops at that point. When you hit it again, it continues at that point. Whereas these kind of cameras, when you stop it, it goes to another segment. It's all like segment building.
Oh, the digital. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the other kind of
We
stuff.
got one. We're supposed to use some drones to overfly some great whites, and we're going to take Q-tips and swab them for see if they have any bacteria on the skin. I need somebody to do the swabbing. Are you? To put you on
I
that
knew he was coming
aft-
up with something
aft
crazy.
deck, and
I won't let you do that.
Yeah.
That would be
need
the
a great
time they would
video
roll my
shot of
boat.
him.
The ship will be
We
going
did
up
find
the
out something. I was going to. Apparently, you can't use mammal blood.
Right.
I did not know that. You have to use like fish products and chum to bring them in. So
They had it's like going for there was a guy in Rhode Island. I happened to run into him in Chicago at what's the name of that big trade show place? McCormick Place. And they did a 5 or 6 page piece on him in the Providence Journal. He had caught this giant great white shark, and they had it on the dock. It looked like a great white. This was years ago.
Yeah.
It looked like one of the scenes from Jaws. Where they got the ship, the fish on the dock, big long fish, 12, 15 foot long great white shark. He talks about how he caught the fish. It ended up costing him over $25,000, and he became a felon because he talked about how he caught it, and they'd been out there, trawling, and they're using squid and all kinds of stuff. Nothing's working, and they came across a dead whale.
Oh.
And they approached it. It was dead. It was floating. It was stunk. It was dead. So they cut some blubber off it, and he used that as bait, and the shark went right at it. He caught the shark with whale blubber. Well, there's a federal law against going near a whale under any circumstances, alive or dead, and touching it or doing anything to it. And he got fined, and he got a felony conviction on his resume. And even worse, he had some kind of licenses. I think it was securities licenses, which he lost because he's a convicted felon. Besides the $25,000 fine it cost him. He's a Rhode Islander.
Yeah.
Now, if that guy's still in Rhode Island, get a hold of me, ventbob@gmail.com. I'd like to hear the story again. Because that was a long time ago. It had to be 15 to 20 years ago, something like that.
They had some Atlantic community recently that had a whale wash up, and it was stinking pretty bad.
No, that was close by here somewhere.
And they wanted to get rid of it, so
Right.
they were going to sell the skeleton on eBay, but the feds contacted them and said, you can't
do it.
that. Luckily, the tide came back in and
Took it out.
took the whale out.
When my son, who's now 23, Zachary, had his own TV show, Zach's Adventures, when he was young, when he was about 6 years old, a blue whale had beached itself right here down at, I think it was Galilee, in that area of Narragansett area of Rhode Island. It might have been a little south of that, I can't remember. It was down by the ocean part of, not in the bay. And we went down there, and I got to go next to the whale. It was all cordoned all off, but they let me go right over to the whale because of my television show, I guess. And Zachary's going, Dad, it stunk. I mean, it stunk so bad. But I got right up to the whale, and the carcass was ripped apart. You could see the spine of the whale. Huge. This thing was huge. You know where that whale is now? Hanging from the ceiling in New Bedford
Really?
Whaling Museum.
That was, I didn't realize it was a blue
That's
whale.
a blue whale? That's the same one?
Yeah.
They towed it in and let it sit in the harbor for 2 years from what I've heard. And then,
They buried it.
yeah. They buried it?
they
I thought
buried
they
it.
sank it in the harbor, let the...
No, I don't think so. I
okay.
think they buried it.
That's interesting. I'll
I
find
think
out,
I
yeah.
can't remember for sure, but I thought that they buried it because it stunk so bad. They couldn't leave it out there. Oh God, it was awful.
Huh.
I mean, you could smell that from here to Providence. Wow. It's almost like that. Do you know anything about that plant? That giant plant? They call it the death plant or something like they call it. It's about 15 feet tall. When it opens, it's absolutely beautiful. The blossoms inside, but it only opens like once every 14 years. It only stays open for a couple of days, and there's a few of them around the country.
Indigenous
Several
to this
around the
area,
world.
you
No,
mean?
no.
They're tropical?
Indigenous to Africa, I think. But it's it looks like a tree, but when it opens up, it's from me to you, the circumference, and it's beautiful, but it stinks to high heavens.
Oh, wow. Never heard it.
And you look on the web, go on the web. I think they call it the death flower. I think that's what they call it, the death flower.
You mentioned National Geographic earlier. They have a great piece on when a whale dies and sinks in the ocean. It literally feeds that area for almost 100 years.
Really?
Yeah, showing the tube worms that pop up and the scavenger fish. And yeah, it's a tremendous ecological event when a whale dies and sinks. It's interesting.
Well, they are huge. We saw a lot of huge ones
yeah,
when we went out
yeah.
there. My God, I never thought I'd see so many whales.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. Hey, when we're going to see the great white sharks? I thought we were going to see great whites.
Well, that was supposed to be 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
no.
weren't back yet, so we're gonna
Oh,
have
you
to
went back. You messed
reschedule.
us up.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, did I tell you? I had an all-woman crew for part of the journey.
And you
Coming
didn't call
back.
me.
I didn't. Damn it.
And you didn't call me.
Oh yeah, I should have. I had the cell phone. I could have called you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's the first thing. I
And where
gonna
was that?
say.
What part of the journey was this?
From Fort Lauderdale to Atlantic City.
Wow.
my
They hauled-
daughter
they did it like
was one
4
of them.
days. They were hauling.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it
was when you
about 4 or
went
5
your
days.
fastest time too.
Yeah, it was. We went out. We went like 100 miles offshore, caught the Gulf Stream, and we were
Now,
kicking.
now, who were the other two?
Well, one was a neighbor in the marina that I met in Key West, and she's from
Wasn't
Michigan
my
actually.
friend,
She was
was it?
racing.
From down in Key West?
No, you have not met her, and no. So this one is a racer. She races her sailboat in the Great Lakes. She
Oh,
did for
wow.
like 40 some years, yeah. And so she came on board, and the other one, I actually put a post on Facebook. There's a organization called Women Who Sail.
Oh, wow.
And I follow them, we always put stuff on there. So I just put the picture of the boat and I said, we're in Fort Lauderdale, I'm looking for crew members, if anybody interested. And I had a ton of responses. It was incredible.
Wow.
And so we went through them all. My daughter and I are sitting there reading, we like her, we like her, we like her. And so
I would've
we did
checked
choose
out
one.
my
She
bathing suit.
flew the
It
next day. Yeah, that's the criteria I was looking for.
How they fit in their bathing suit.
It was perfect.
Right?
It was perfect, actually.
Why not? Try anything.
Anyway.
All right, so when we going, I guess I got to wrap it up. Is this is an hour? We spent an hour already? You spent an hour with Bob.
I love an hour with Bob.
You spent,
Thank you.
You spent more than an hour with Bob.
Yes, I did.
You spent a long time with
Spent
Doc.
days with Bob.
Always a pleasure seeing you.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Yeah.
Nice seeing you out of uniform,
Oh, yeah.
because that means I'm not getting cut.
I'll send you some photos if you want to post them somewhere from the
Yeah?
trip. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
I'll see you in Iceland next summer.
Iceland next
Iceland.
summer. Iceland.
Only if you don't make him get on the deck and swab the
Yeah,
whale.
no swabbing, no
No
swabbing.
swabbing for you.
Well, there won't be swabbing. It'll be cleaning ice off the deck, not
That's
swabbing.
true.
Well, why did they call Greenland? Greenland should have been called Iceland. Iceland should
There's
have
a
been
good
called
story
Greenland.
for that.
Go ahead, tell me.
No, I want you to tell me.
I heard the Vikings wanted to confuse other invaders. So they named Greenland, the most inhospitable one, Greenland.
Right.
So people would go there. Iceland.
Oh, I know what we wanted to say quickly. Why do the pirates have a patch shot?
I
over
thought
the
I thought it was for night vision.
No.
What?
Why? What couldn't you look at last week with your
Oh, the
naked
sun.
eye?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what did the pirates in the 14th, 15th century, 12th century? What did they use to gauge where they were going? A sextant,
Well, you can
right?
use the sun. Yeah, you can use the sun for latitude, but
But they use the
stars for
sextant, right?
Yeah, okay.
Well, when you looked at a section, what do you do with one eye? You closed it, right?
Okay.
And the other eye you had open, and you're looking at the sun through the eclipse. Exactly what they tell you not to do.
Huh.
So they burned out that iris on that one eye. So that's why, hence they
They're blind. Did
walked
not
around
know that. Yeah.
with a patch on that eye. I don't know how true it is, but it
There
sounds
are
good.
many stories why.
It
there's a
sounds
patch
good.
on there. If I'll let you know if that was true.
Right? It sounded good, didn't it?
Yep. It sounded real good.
It actually worked. Well, folks, what do you think? Let us know. And thank you for spending an hour with Bob. And Anna, thank you for spending an hour with Bob. And see you on what date?
September 5th.
September 5th at Spain Restaurant. See you there. Reservoir Avenue in Cranston. Until next time, see ya.